Okay, reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Canto 2, Chapter 18. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya. Chaksurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam yena bhutale. Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sapradantikam. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha. Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So greetings from New Jersey, this very nice ashram that Jack is developing. And I somehow the last 3 Tuesdays I've been here for the programs, and it's been wonderful, always between 15 and 20 people. Nice prasadam, and Jack started this initially, the program. He said he'll start a program so everybody can practice kirtan. And people have become pretty expert. The danga and singing. And I just read a little bit from my book, which is really satisfying that I could read it. And because usually when you read something, it's harder to follow, but somehow it's written in a way that I can read it. Now, a little disclaimer for today. I've been kind of intensely preparing these classes, and I somehow some note here. Okay, repeat the verse. Okay. 10 to 18. Okay. I traveled, and there's a lot of things you can say about traveling. Chanakya Pandit says traveling makes a man old. One Ayurvedic practitioner told me that when you move faster than a bullock cart, it blows out the fire of digestion. I went to Hartford. I was supposed to stay for a week, but beforehand, plans changed. But so I think what I'll do today, is I'll just tell a little bit about my travel and my realizations, and then I'll go through the text, summarize it, and we'll read until the prayers to the demigods. And then on Sunday, actually, we're getting ready because it's Krishna Janmashtami coming up in 3 weeks. So I'm actually going to be able to next week begin on where Krishna is actually born. And I think it's really nice to study this Lila before Krishna takes birth. And at least in the book. And then I'll read the verses till the end of this, till the prayers to the demigods. And then the next chapter describes when, right when Krishna is born. And we can study that on Sunday. Maybe in just 2-3 classes, we'll be finished with the janma-lila. And I have an idea to study another. I'm going to look at the texts of Uddhava visits Vrindavan and see if I can discuss that, because it's very interesting pastime, because Uddhava is Bodhisattva. He's the most intelligent person in the universe. He's also Parishad. He's the most intimate person to Krishna outside of Vrindavan. And therefore he sends him with a message to pacify the separation of the gopis. So let's see, maybe I can study that next. Anyway, about the travel was kind of interesting. I took the train. I think it's the best way to travel. It's so comfortable. You get so much work done. But instead of going directly to Hartford, I went to New Haven and Ekachakra. Then he drove me to Hartford to stay with Varshanalali. But really, so he picked me up, and we because I haven't seen him before COVID, Ekachakra. Also, Dr. Eben Graves. He's now the assistant director of the Yale School of Sacred Music, which is a pretty fascinating institution within Yale. They deal with traditional music, and sacred music. Actually, I just realized it's not just ancient; it's sacred music. It's music that's dealing with God in different traditions, with the divine, something spiritual music. And they also have, I think, 60 divinity students too that so it's a very interesting institution. So I kind of have a samskara. I'm going to write about this. A samskara means, an aversion or an attachment from your previous experiences in your heart that determine what you like or dislike. And mostly it's purva samskara. It's impressions from previous lives. And it includes your abilities and your talents and what you're good at, what you're not good at. So it's all determined by your previous experiences, and they make impressions in your consciousness. So you can tell what your future will be by the experiences you have in this life. And a proper culture tries to give you the proper experiences so that you have good samskaras. I often gave the definition of culture as, I read this in one book, the purposeful construction of your environment to make impressions in the consciousness that enable you to learn, communicate, and relate with others better. So you have your samskaras, and I have this one samskara. It's kind of strange. I just love looking at mansions. I love walking on the Upper East Side and looking at those buildings. Or I remember sometimes I stayed in Brooklyn Heights. They have all those buildings. So I wanted to catch up with Ekachakra. And so he said, well, you like to see the town? And that meant really to see Yale and walking around it. So while I'm walking around, I'm thinking, because it's already Sunday, and I'm going to have to start to write the Monday morning greetings, not for the following Monday that was written, but the Monday after that. And I have to have a topic. So the way Monday morning greetings works, it's not that I artificially look for realizations. I try to watch my mind for the realizations that I have. how I am seeing the world in a more deep and profound way by the knowledge I have based on a tradition of knowledge that I've studied for over 50 years. So it's not that I look for the realizations come. But I tend to watch my mind more to note what they are. And realization is a very interesting thing. It's like an aha moment. It's like you see the truth in the world. And because I'm so keen as my service to communicate it, when it comes Sunday and I don't have a realization, I begin to think. I begin to look for one, often by increasing my chanting. I begin to look for those real. So I was walking around the campus of Yale, blown away by the facilities that these places have. It's inconceivable. It's even Ekachakra was telling me that the endowment, just for his one department, a separate endowment, because it was started by, he told me it was started by some person who manufactured machines, and he made so much money during the war. It was religious and pious people. And they made so much money during the war because tanks and all these machines, they were getting so many contracts that they wanted to do something good. So they gave a couple of $1 million or something for an endowment to start this school of sacred music. Like, for example, they teach church organ and things like that. Now, very interesting, he was telling me, got interesting because they want to be naturally more diversified, and they're starting to bring in people for Black gospels. It's very fascinating, but somehow invested in Yale has it's the template for how to invest for the people in other institutions, disciple of their chief investor or something. It's $250 million. So they have a huge budget. Just the interest that comes from that endowment is just a huge budget. No one has to pay tuition in there to come to their thing. So it's just impressive, the buildings and the structures so I was kind of like looking for a realization. What am I going to write about? Is there something here I could write about? And I do believe, because it's my service, they do come from Krishna, because they come out beyond my own personal abilities or capacities. That's when they're finished, I'm amazed myself. How did this happen? I was talking with Ekachakra, what are we going to write about? And then we passed the building for the skull and bones, which is one of the secret societies. When they had the debates between Kerry and Bush, the person asked Bush, because he was a member of the two presidential candidates were a member of this Skull and Bones, this secret society. So they asked Bush, can you tell us about the Skull and Bones? He said, no, it's secret. And then they asked Kerry, the opposite party, can you tell us about the Skull and Bones? No, it's secret. Ekachakra said he walked by there, and one day he saw someone come out like completely covered with a mask. And what they do every year is because it's a senior society, in the junior year, they look for the top 15 people in the university, and then they try to recruit them into their into their secret society. But anyway, so I was trying to look, Chuck was saying, well, maybe that you can contrast that with Lord Chaitanya's movement, where these secret mantras we give out to the world, like Ramanuja's guru said, don't give him this mantra. It's something I forgot. And then he told everyone, because the higher principle, we priti vichi achi yati nagaradi gram, in every town and village. There's no secret. So then we went to this Devakī library, which was mind-blowing. It's 1 million rare books and manuscripts. And when you come into the library, it must be in the center of the building, the hall. When you come in, it must be about 10,000 square feet or something. There's a cathedral, like a glass, where all the books are. You can actually see them, and there's like a moat around it. And it's 6 stories, and where they keep all the books. So you can see them facing. They're neatly in these shelves. So you walk around, you see all these books. So I don't know, what realization can I get here? And then as we're walking around, it's impressive. The outside is pink marble, and it has effect that the light can come in, but without the ultraviolet rays, so the books don't become disturbed. And then we looked, and then around it, there's some lounge areas. And of course, the structure, I think it goes down too also. And the moat is not water, but there's just a space. You can't, I think, just because of the value of these manuscripts. And I guess they have rooms where different scholars can take out the books, and it's, and the archivists go and get you your book, and then it's watched carefully. So then we walked out, and there was a Gutenberg Bible. I guess it's the first book printed in a kind of a glass case. There were exhibits around there. And then the original Declaration of Independence. And I got a copy. I was so impressed with the book, with what they wrote. It was like so powerful, but no realizations. But I decided to write about it. I did have 2 realizations, which what I want to write. There's a famous book written about Yale called God and Man and Yale, by the most famous conservative intellectual of the 20th century, William F. Buckley. So I wanted to write Krishna and God and Yale, because they did have some realizations walking around there. And 2 of them I had, which I want to think about. One is the power of these institutions to communicate their view to the world. And how Prabhupada said that Priyena Alpaya Shah Shubha Kalabas Minyuge Janaha Manda Samanda Mateo, that in this age is surcharged with opposition to spiritual life. The powers that be that are against spiritual principles, and the facilities they have to propagate that is so powerful, I remember Tamal Krishna Maharaj was flying someplace to Dallas where he had a temple. So he thought, let me watch on the movie on the plane. He had a beautiful community. Let me watch on a movie on the plane called JFK. And after he told me that, I saw that movie. And President Dwight D. Eisenhower before he leaves, warns the power of the military-industrial complex, the power of a bureaucratic state and their objectives. And he was so smart. He watched that. He saw that actually, whether the movie was exactly true or not, it tried to be accurate, and who knows about the conspiracies. He understood that there were great powers in this world that were opposed to spiritual consciousness. And when he went there, he said, I thought I was going to spread Krishna consciousness in the world. I mean, what we're up against, maybe we can save a few people. So that's one realization I had, how the material world is surcharged with opposition. The other one was reading the Declaration of Independence, and it's such a brilliant document. I was looking at these guys. It reminded me of, it was kind of like when the zonal acharyas, it's a history of ISKCON after Prabhupada, there were 11 acharyas, and they kind of made some mistakes and accrued a lot of power. And that at a particular time, there was a revolt, and within ISKCON, they made a 50-man committee to completely review this whole system and revamp everything. Strangely, and they picked 50 people in ISKCON that they thought were not in that can do it. I happened to be one of them at the time. You can see how things change. But in it, each of those people had to come up and face what this committee had researched were complaints about how they were dealing with this service. And Jayadvaita Maharaj wrote one document of the complaints. And there was this other devotee, he broke down, he felt like it was like the Nuremberg trials. So I thought the Declaration of Independence was these brilliant, it's so written, the writing is so powerful, the thoughts, and this you've done, and this you've done, and this you've done, and this you've done. But what I wanted to comment on is I felt that these were complete, men of integrity and character. And then they wrote, we hold these truths to be self-evident, all men are created equal. And at the same time, these powerful integrity, all men are created equal, but there's slavery going on. And I'm just trying to figure out, how did they miss it? These weren't the type of people that would be naturally racist and things like that. So how did they miss it? So that was my meditation of kind of like how the mind operates in terms of selectivity and how you can grab onto certain truths and not see others. It's like that. And I see that in the world. I don't know how I'll develop it. I just got to write it and see where it goes and see if Krishna wanted me to write it. But there's something about selectivity that people grab onto certain truths and don't see others. And they grab onto the right and they see certain truths and they don't see others that are going on that are so obvious. And then people on the left, they have certain truths, justice and things, but they don't see other things that are going on that are so obvious. So there seems to be some element in the consciousness of selectivity. And where you can't see everything at once. And therefore you focus on certain truths, but they're encompassed with other truths which are incongruous to it. And I thought one example is that is even in the room that you're staying right now, is probably you couldn't relate to everything's in that room and where it is. And sometimes you miss obvious things. Or maybe you visit someplace, especially you've been to the Bhakti Center, all the thing. Well, what picture is behind this and what picture is over here? And what you've seen it. But the mind doesn't work in seeing everything at once. It sees little snapshots and puts it together and gives you the image that you're seeing at once. You can only accommodate a very minute part of the environment within your consciousness, but somehow you have a vision that is holistic. So I think as that exists in just the way the senses work, it exists in the way the mind works. And therefore you can have good people with views of integrity that are combined with other conceptions that are abhorrent. And I think that the one of the difficulties in the modern world is we'll look at someone else, we'll just see the views that we consider abhorrent, and we won't see the integrity of why they're into a particular thing, which may reflect their good part. And I was also thinking it had a lot to do with the holy name and how we chant. Our consciousness has selectivity. Our mind has selectivity. So if we're not choosing the holy name at the time we're chanting, even though we're vibrating it, are we actually chanting it? Does it actually? Well, it does, but to what extent? And the art of concentrating, and selectivity of that aspect of our environment is good, which is not the mind and our fears and ambitions, etc., but selecting that aspect and keeping that in the consciousness. So let's see how my article goes. Krishna and Man and Yale. I like the title because that was a famous book. Now back to our story. And I told you it'd be a little bit different today. But, Vasudeva did not trust Kamsa, even though he somehow or other brilliantly, on the basis of his own word, and how Kamsa knew how someone of integrity has so much fear of lying. That's their samskar. Samskars are powerful. It's instilled in a person from birth. To lie is just so difficult to them. It's such a part of a proper culture is honesty, integrity. The exemplars of the Mahabharata, they're reading about honesty. Bhishma makes his vow. He remained celibate his whole life. So Kamsa knew that this is a man of integrity. So he promised. And you can see how much we are personally lacking in this level of character. It's too easy for us to be controlled by our desires and our ambitions and what people will think and so many other things. But someone who has honesty, they do not care what others think. They don't care what will happen to their lives. So somehow Kamsa believed him, but he lacked character and he lacked self-control. And you can't trust the word of someone who lacks character. Because the very definition of character is you put your principles above your personal concerns. And lack of character puts your personal concerns above your principles. So he knew. And even if there was a glimpse of principles, he knew he didn't have self-control, so he's going to go with what's ever best for him, no matter what it means to others. So dangerous dealing with people who don't have character and don't have control. And it's so hard to trust them. And it's one of the reasons why there's such a lack of trust in the world, because people are not trained like that. There is no real civic education, no real moral education. People are not trained like that. So they don't have the discipline, and they don't have the values. They don't have the character. It's so hard to trust people. We don't deal with people like that. Oh, he told me this. Like Raghunath Swami, his practices were like the lines in stone. They don't move, his words. No. And sure enough, Narada Muni comes with the vision and objective to expedite the birth of Krishna, which required 7 other children to be born before him, as the Akashvani said, which means, so Kamsa and anyway, he influenced Kamsa, and then Kamsa changed his mind, and he thought that because Narada said that the demigods have taken birth in the Yadu dynasty, he thought any of them could be Vishnu, and therefore, with that lack of character and with that lack of self-control and just putting his personal concerns above any principle, seeing the world according to his desires, he started to control and solidify political alliances of other demoniac people. And then the Yadu dynasty, because Kamsa was hunting them down, they started to disperse from their homes. And even Vasudeva, he had sent his other wives, he sent Rohini to Nanda Maharaj, to take, I think they share the same mother, or same father. Anyway, they're related. And so he sent them there to take shelter. So this is the setting for Krishna's birth. This is the classic yada hi dharmasya glanir dharmasya, the discrepancy in religion. Yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata, the discrepancy in religion. So now Krishna, he understands, Vishnu understands the distress, and he's going to come, but he makes preparations for him to come. And interesting, the preparation was Jiva Tattva, Vishnu Tattva, Shakti Tattva. Jiva Tattva was Lord Brahma had some role. The Jiva petitions God to come. And the great Jiva represents the other Jivas of the living entities and their suffering. Like when Krishna appeared, Advaita Acharya, Haridas Thakur, they petitioned the Lord. So it's the suffering of the jivas, then the Shakti, the Yoga Maya, his internal potency, which sets the setting to connect things to Krishna so that he can actually appear in the right, he appear to do his come. And then Vishnu Tattva, Lord Balaram appears. But first, he tells Yoga Maya, you must go. And go to Nanda Gokul, go to that place and make the necessary arrangements for me to appear. Of course, God's determination is an absolute fact, but part of his determination is love. So he has people carry out those activities rather than manifest it himself. In his infinite omniscience, this is the way he's created things, that his desires get played out. His determination is absolute fact, but it's carried out. And therefore there is lila. There is subject matter of service to God being manifest to attract us to that. So he tells Yoga Maya, you'll go and you'll be very famous. And because you're my potency, you can fulfill all desires spiritually or materially. But as it's the world, you'll prepare personally for my appearance, but your energy will also manifest in another way to fulfill the material desires of people, and you'll become very, very powerful. You'll become very, very popular and known and in so many places. So you go. And then, so Yoga Maya, Om, Om, Om means yes, it's true. It is my will. It's expressed in the Vedas. So what you said, Om, I will do it, meaning it's the truth. And when a person of integrity knows the truth, he doesn't have to say he will do it, he will do it. So he has to say it is the truth. It is the truth. So he says, Om. And I will, and she says, I will follow that order. And then she go, and so what does she do? And one of the things is to transfer Balaram to Rohini in Vrindavan. But Balaram appears in the womb, and it represents that before Krishna appears, his Balaram appears. Balaram is also Guru Tattva. Balaram serves Krishna in all affairs of existence and knowledge. So he manifests everything Krishna enjoys. He manifests knowledge and existence. These are the two activities that go on in creation. And the knowledge is Guru. The knowledge, the most important knowledge, is how to connect back to God. Connect back to God. Jivera Sarupa Hoy, Krishnera Nitya Das. How to awaken, how to solve our problems by getting out of illusion. And the way you get out of illusion is you start to desire not to be in illusion. Because we're in illusion because we want to be in illusion. We want to be the enjoyer and controller, a position which we cannot have by our constitution. Therefore, to satisfy that, we have to be put in illusion. So it's all responding to our desire. So we just have to change our desire. And how do we change that desire? We need the proper understanding and we need the proper realization. And that comes from Krishna through Balaram, through Guru. That inspiration, that understanding, that determination, that faith, that objective in the right direction. And we become inspired to move in that right direction. So, Om, yes, I will do it. And then after that, Krishna appears in the mind of Vasudeva, Vishuddha-sattvam, Vasudeva Shabditam. He's called Vasudeva. The spiritual consciousness is called Vasudeva because it's Vasudeva's consciousness that attracts Krishna. And it's Vasudeva's consciousness that injects Krishna into others, which is his wife. And it says, manastaḥ, he appeared in the mind. It's not seminal discharge. And she became very beautiful. Just as the east becomes beautiful by the rising moon. She becomes very, very beautiful. Devakī then kept within herself the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes, the foundation of the entire cosmos. But because she was under arrest in the house of Kamsa, she was like the flames of a fire covered by the walls of a pot, or like a person who had knowledge but cannot distribute it to the world for the benefit of human society. So somehow it's described, she's so beautiful, but she can't manifest it. She can't manifest it. And that it's just like, and it's just like knowledge, that sometimes you have it, but you're not able to give it. Because the Supreme Personality of God was within her womb, Devakī illuminated the entire atmosphere in the place where she was confined. Seeing her jubilant, pure, and smiling, Kamsa thought, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, is now within her, will kill me. Devakī has never before looked so brilliant and jubilant. So has never before looked so brilliant and jubilant. Kamsa thought, what is my duty now? The Supreme Lord who knows his purpose, Paritanaya Sadhunam Vanashaya Tradushkritam, will not give up his prowess. Devakī is a woman. She is my sister. Moreover, she is now pregnant. If I kill her, any reputation, opulence, and duration of life will certainly be vanquished. So, interesting, Kamsa starts to think of Krishna, but he's not in bliss, he's in fear. So it's not just thinking of Krishna, it's how you think of Krishna. And if you think of Krishna in love, then the experience you have will be prema. But he's thinking in fear, and his calculations are based on fear. It's not based on principle. If I kill a woman, it's wrong, and this, and no, I don't care about that. I'll kill her in a second because I put principle, I put my personal considerations above principles, because that's the way the mind is wired of a demoniac person. They see the world according to their desires, and that becomes the truth. And that was our consciousness since time immemorial. We put our personal considerations before principles, and it never worked. The authority of our own desires never worked. And therefore we seek something beyond that. Some conception, is there a truth beyond my principles? And if I do, I want to find the tradition that has it. I want to find the people that have it. Just like in the program here, there's one new person that came. Her name is Stephanie. And I see she'll come on Thursday and study the Bhagavatam. She'll study the Bhagavatam with Pat, and then yesterday she also led a kirtan, and she was searching, and she was searching, and she was searching until one day she went to get her hair cut, and her barber, there he is, Lal Govinda. So, but a person it hasn't come to that point. They're going lower and lower. So he's thinking it's a woman, it's my sister, but not as Vasudeva was explaining before, the principle of it. It's the fear of what that will do to him in this life. And a conception, if there is a next life, what will it do? My reputation, opulence, and duration of life will certainly be vanquished. We have to be very, very, very careful how we deal with the Vaishnavas. Very careful. I've seen things happen when people have blasphemed pure devotees. I've seen the reactions to it. A person who is very cruel is regarded as dead even when living. While he is living or after his death, everyone condemns him. And after death of a person in the bodily concept of life, he's undoubtedly transferred to the hell known as Adatma. So this is basically, Kamsa has some consideration like this, what will happen. Sukadeva Goswami said, deliberating in this way, Kamsa, although determined to continue in enmity towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead, refrained from the vicious killing of his sister. He decided to wait until the Lord was born and then do what was needed. Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, accompanied by the great sages like Narada, Devala, and Vyas, and by other demigods like Indra, Chandra, and Varuna, invisibly approached the room of Devakī, where they all joined in offering their respectful obeisances and prayers to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who can bestow his blessings upon everyone. So now the demigods will pray. And I'm not going to go over those prayers because I'm trying to concentrate on the storyline and illustrate the philosophy through that. And then there are prayers that go on and on. And they go on and on and on and on. On and on, on and on, on and on. After thus offering prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, the transcendents, all the demigods with Lord Brahma and Shiva before them, return to their homes in the heavenly planets. And I've always told you the story when I first got my Krishna book. my college roommate, who I went to California with in 1970, and he stayed and joined the temple. Unfortunately, he was murdered preaching Krishna consciousness. Happy are those Kshatriyas whose battles fought and say he was always a hero type. When we went to college, we used to make fun of him because when we go to our literature class and we were studying the Odyssey, and Odysseus was the hero of the Odyssey, and the teacher was just showing you the faults of Odysseus, and this is literary criticism, and he would argue with the teachers and defend Odysseus because he was so much into the hero that we used to call him Odysseus. We used to call him Odysseus. That was his name for us. His name was Odysseus. So, the hero. So, he came back because he had dodged the draft. I've told this story before, and he had to report and see if he can do something for conscientious objection. It actually has a lot to do connected with how I came to Krishna consciousness, or fully came at that time, was joining the temple, because he stayed with me. He gave me a Krishna book. We hadn't seen that before. But to go regress back to this, when he was there, he dodged the draft, and now he was submitting as a conscientious objector. And the person, whoever he was, said to him, okay, you want to be a conscientious objector? Okay, let me go outside. I'll think about it. You think about it. You think about what you want to do for the next 2 years for your conscientious objecting. So he came back, and my friend said, well, I decided I'd like to work in a religious school in Dallas. The guy said, okay, and that was the Gurukula. So he went down there, and that's how I wound up. From him being there in Dallas, he brought me down there to Dallas, and then I stayed there for 4 years later, or a couple of years later, because he was already in. But when I got that Krishna book, and that was my revelation, when I got the Krishna book and I started reading the prayers of Devakī, and I'm seeing that these prayers, that you are the Supreme Lord, prayer after prayer, oh Supreme Controller, your Lordship. And then I saw it was a child who had a mother and father, had a romantic life, had friendship. And then I was thinking, in college, I had studied in the philosophy class that God is that being of which no greater can be conceived. And then I said, well, it got to be Krishna. I can't conceive of anything greater than this. The supreme majesty and the supreme sweetness. There can't be anything greater than this. I'm convinced of that to this day. Okay, I don't know if Jamunajai had to go to teach, or she's still there. She can start by saying, okay, Jamunajai, yeah.
There are lots of points, but I thought something you said at the beginning and then was completely rounded up in the end. You were saying about chanting. It says, you were saying, are we choosing the holy name when we're chanting it? We're just chanting. And then I was thinking, when you were talking about Kamsa, we hear that he was mumbling Krishna, 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 but he wasn't choosing it in the right way. So I thought that those 2 points, you sort of circle back and really link together. I always think of Kamsa as such a waste of potential. He had the ability to chant and concentrate, but he used it in completely the wrong way.
Well, because emotion attaches us to objects in concentration more than will does. So he had that fear, but at least it was fear of Krishna, where King Venu, he denied Krishna's existence. So when he went against God, by destroying he went to hell. And Kamsa, he got the same destination as Krishna's. Basically, he got some type of liberation, Kamsa, because at least he accepted Krishna. He just hated him. Okay, thank you, Jamunajaya.
You're right.
Okay, anybody else have any reflection they want to share?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Not exactly a reflection, it's more, when you mentioned, you're talking about Yoga Maya, and Krishna was having her come and do her job here. And one of the things he said to her was, you'll be so powerful, you'll be so popular, but as if to say that would be an enticement, but, I mean, a pure devotee, what to speak of his internal potency, would not have that as motivation. So why did he say that to her?
I don't think it necessarily had to be an enticement, just telling her what's going to be happening. You're going to be known as this and this. It didn't have to be like, this is why you're coming. This is what's going to happen when you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I was thinking like that, but I needed that confirmation.
Okay.
But, also, your Monday morning greetings, Yale, God, and Krishna.
Yeah.
You had to kind of really search it out, so I wasn't sure if you would have called that an artificial realization or not.
No, it wasn't, because when I'm looking, it's kind of interesting. Yeah, it's a little bit more, because usually what happens is things just come to me, and then I say, okay, I have to write about it, right? But when I was walking around Yale and it was already Sunday, I was saying, well, nothing has come yet. I don't have a topic yet to write about. So let me try to see something. Yeah, so it was a little bit more imposed, but it still didn't come that way, actually. I couldn't, the fact of the matter is, doing it that way, I couldn't do it that way. It still came like, boom, aha, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You just had to work harder this time.
Well, I was enjoying, egg chakra is so nice, and walking around the campus. I love doing those things somehow. It was a beautiful day. And, yeah. But my God, that library, mind-blowing. Wow.
Yeah, it sounds totally amazing.
It was totally amazing. I have to go there again. And it's like a tomb. There's no windows to the outside, but this light comes in through this pink marble or something. I don't know.
Wow.
But okay. All right. Well, I'll tell one other story when I'm there that was really great. So one of the reasons I went is one of Niranjan Swami's disciples, Malati Priya. She's an optometrist, and she treats, I guess, any devotee. She'll give a checkup for free, and I guess for me, glasses and everything. So I went. She had a beautiful office, and I went, and I got a thorough checkup, and there was something wrong with the vision of my left eye, and then she actually researched it. It's a little serious, not, something with the retina. I have to get it checked, maybe even some operation, I'm not sure. But so she really did a great job there. And then she said to me, well, here are these, when you're reading on the screen, here are these glasses that'll, to make the things more distinct, the colors. And, so she gave me these free pair of things and that. And then she said to me, oh, and then of course she's giving the glasses, she's mailing me for free that she's done with the frames and everything. And then she said, well, she said, here, I made some prasadam for you. So she bring out like a little, like Whole Foods bag, and she made all this nice, but she said, sorry, I didn't have enough time to make apple crisp. And then when I left, she gave me a donation. So I was saying, wow, she really just likes to serve the Vaishnavas. Okay, anybody else like to say hello?
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, Tota Gopinath here.
Hi, well, great to see you yesterday. I think it's great if you can get out and come to those programs.
Thanks. Yeah,
Really
enjoying it.
Really refreshing. Such nice kirtans, Prasad association. Yeah. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you very much for the class.
Yavet Sundari, Haribo.
Yes.
Good to
Haribo.
see you. Thank you. Great.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. Thank you.
Wonderful to see how you take the Krishna consciousness. It's great.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thanks for the class.
Radhika. Very nice. And your mother. So nice. Haribo.
Thank you so much.
Anybody else?
Yes, Maharaj. Gopi Gita.
Gopi Gita. Haribo. We'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
You're going to the temple regularly now?
Yes, Maharaj.
Great.
I am going every day.
Every day. How nice, right? What is it? 5-minute ride from your house?
Yes, it's easy to go, and the meditation, the japa is great there.
It makes a difference, doesn't it? Yeah. Great. I can see it. Okay. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, Namaste here.
Haribo.
Haribo. Thank you. Wonderful class. I didn't want it to end.
Okay. Are you in your farm now?
Right now, no. I'm in the house, but we are going to the farm in the evening because it's very hot now.
Okay. When can I speak to you next?
Anytime, Maharaj. Thank you. I appreciate it.
How about in an hour?
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. How we'll do it? We'll do it by WhatsApp. In an hour, call me. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj.
All right.
Well.
Good. Jersey kirtans, they're so nice, right? Everyone is so nice.
It's
so
great.
Because I see now, rather than being spectators, people participate. Go to a bigger temple, people are spectators, and therefore everybody's learning the instruments, learning the mridanga, learning the kirtan.
Yeah.
And they're really done with sincerity. So I enjoyed, of course, you came from work late, but I really enjoyed just sitting there with the kirtans.
Yeah.
And then everybody gets nice, simple prasad.
Yeah, it's really glad that you're there. Amazing.
Well, yeah, I'm here. That's nice, but I'm not always going to be here in here. But I think still it goes on.
Program still goes on.
Yeah, definitely. Strong program. Oh, it's great.
And it's growing because people see it's of steps. And now I see Kishori also comes, so. And
yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, Haribo. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, this is Kamadharala.
Shem Kishore Das, Haribo Maharaj.
Thank you so much for class, Maharaj.
Okay. Great to see both of you. Okay, Haribo.
Likewise,
Haribo. Okay. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for class.
I still have to get you that Bhagavatam verse, but I wasn't by my library. I'm back now. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. You've written about Puri, right?
Yes, Puri and Govardhan as well.
Okay, Haribo. Good. Okay. Anybody else?
Good morning, Dhanurdhara Swami. This is Min.
Min, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for class.
I see you come all the time. That's so nice. I
wanted to tell you that I'm so grateful for all the classes you upload because I've been listening to all your past classes all day, every day.
Wow, that's amazing. That's so wonderful. Thank you so much. You're going to come to Hari Kirtan told me you're going to come to Puri.
All of it, I think.
Yeah, Puri and Govardhan. That's nice.
Yes.
Yes. And okay. It's a long shot, but in 3 weeks, I'm doing a retreat in Colombia. You're welcome.
Okay, I'll
I don't know what
look into it.
I don't know what the possibilities are. You're an artist. Is that what you do?
Yes.
It's professional art, right? People pay for your artwork, or?
Yes. Well, yes. So that's all I know how to do. I went to art school and then I came to New York and I started showing relatively soon. And then I had a big art studio where I made a lot of artwork for big companies and residences and clients. But I actually folded all that because I felt like I needed to know who God is.
Wow.
And then Krishna walked into my life.
You seem to have taken this very seriously, which is so nice. Yeah. But you don't work in the art world anymore?
I mean, I make art and I write all the time, but I'm actually waiting for Krishna to tell me what the next step is. Knowing that that's all I know how to do, and Krishna knows that that's all I know how to do, but I'm asking him that, I'll do anything.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much, because I see who comes to class and I see you're there all the time. It's a nice little community, isn't it?
I love it, and I love seeing all the people here and hearing them in the past classes.
Yeah.
Just so lovely, and so much respect, and just such a great community. Thank you.
Well, now it's nice that you came on. They could meet you too.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. Haribo. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, Vancha Kalpatu Vishna Kapisinda Baby Jalpati Tanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo.